It's Nikki. How are you doing? I hope you are well. Today I want to talk, my theme of today is the power of a series. The reason that I'm sharing this right now, well, there's two reasons. One, my podcast celebrated its 4th birthday party. Not actually a party, but my 4th anniversary this week. And I've really realised over the past 4 years how that body of work it's changed my business. That's the long and short of it, basically. And having that body of work, over 500 episodes, I'm really here as an advocate of creating that body of work, because once you do, and you do it in a way that works, people can access it whenever they like. And as I'm moving more towards an evergreen business, which is what I've spoken about a lot recently, is that I don't just want to always be on, I guess. And there's lots of my life that I want to have away from social media. And there are lots of parts of my business that I want to be able to give to nurture, to grow, but also have a business that is global and is open 24/7, but is so rich and robust that I don't have to always be the person who's operating it. That's a whole other topic probably for another time. But in line with celebrating 4 years on the podcast and that vision going forward, I wanted to share some tips with you today about the power of a series and about building from a way that feels really good, so you're not doing all of the things all of the time, basically, because I know people are really tired at the moment. So this is going to be great for you if you are a content creator, if you are a business owner, if you need to market your business or what you do and get yourself out there. This is going to be absolutely perfect. The second reason that I want to share this, I'm hopping about, but I've got my notes here and I want to give them to you. The second reason that I want to share this is because I know so many of my clients, conversations that I'm having with other business owners, lots of people are really tired at the moment. The last 2 years plus have really taken their toll on people. And there's a hesitancy about showing up and promoting their business maybe, or marketing, or they don't really know what to say, and they're just maybe a bit exhausted about it all. So these tips I'm going to share with you today will hopefully help to bring some things, all of your parts of your business together a little bit, so it doesn't feel as scattered. Because it's almost like that moment where I know before I go on holiday, for me and the kids, Matt does his own, but I like to get all the clothes on the bed so I can have a look. If I was like going in drawers, going in cupboards, going, swimming stuff, I'll just add those in, that does not help the process of my brain. So the power of a series today, the reason that I want to talk about this first and foremost is a power of a series really helps to clarify your ideas. And ultimately, if you are online to sell something or communicate something or promote something or bring attention to something, you want to make sure that you are really protecting your time and also somebody else's. And if you embark on your next steps in terms of content, in terms of having a series of a topic, that clear idea will come to life, and it will make you very discerning about making sure that those particular ideas are really holding their own. Because I know so many people can go live because, their coach or their mentor or whoever it might be just goes, just keep going live. And then they go live and then they have nothing to say. And I really want to maximize your energy. So if you grab your piece of paper and your pen and you start to map out some kind of series, you almost have to justify each part of it and really work out and go into the nitty-gritty of like, what am I actually saying here? What is this for? And we all know when we waffle on. We all know when we've suddenly gone on a tangent and it's not helpful. The second thing that you can do is you can use it as an opportunity to share your process. Again, in a world where there probably seems, depending on what your industry is, there can seem like a million of you, like there's so many coaches, or there's so many social media managers, or there's so many yoga instructors, or whatever it might be. But I'm here to say that however you might think, oh gosh, there's so many, what you have to offer, your skills, your talent, your background, your set of circumstances, your personality, your edge, your expertise, your the adversity you face, whatever it might be, that process is unique to you. And so by leaning into what is your process, how do you say this? How can you bring what you know to be true to life? And I love it when I do live speaking gigs, because sometimes when people go, oh, I've heard this thing about goal setting, but I've never heard it said in that way before. The way that you said it really resonated. And for me, that's always an indication of like, oh, good. The stories, or like bringing a case study or bringing an example or an analogy, they all really work. Okay, good information, good data. Let's keep doing that. So by creating that process, it starts to really resonate with people. Not everybody, because we're not trying to talk to everybody, but your ideal client will hopefully engage with what you say. Then what will happen is if they engage with what you're saying and there is a process, they'll keep coming back for more. They'll be thinking, oh, what's going to happen next? Oh, great, maybe that person will have something about that. So it really builds that lovely rapport. The next thing I want to share is by sharing in digestible chunks. So for example, you might do a 4-part series of content. Digestible chunks is lovely, because how many times, and I've done it myself, like I've signed up for a 90-minute workshop or webinar and I just want the stuff. I actually, because my time is so precious as yours is, but really at the moment, we're really trying to there's lots of other stuff going on behind the scenes. And so my amount of time that I have to work in the week, it really has to count for something. So somebody saying, oh, it's 90 minutes or you get 19 different bonuses. Actually, that's not particularly compelling at the moment. Like, I want the thing done. I want to do the stuff. And if somebody could break it down into 3 steps that I can digest in 10 minutes, that's perfect for me. Actually, I don't need that big period of time. So what you can do in a series is you can add it into digestible chunks. So people can get the information that they need and go, great. Okay, I now know what to do. I now know what the next step is. The second thing the 4, I don't know where we're up to, some number. The next thing I want to say is by making it accessible in digestible chunks, you are more likely to provide a solution for your listener, your client, your potential customer. And as creators, as business owners, we can feel like, well, I'll just give everybody everything. But we know in this time, it's not just about education. It's not just about giving more information to people. I know personally, I can only take on so much information. What I'm interested in is what I do with it, where I go forward, how I move forward with this information. And what I'm really interested in always is the result. There's no point me reading another book or listening to another podcast if I'm not going to do anything with the information. So by making it very accessible, for breaking it down for your client, for even giving them just 1 or 2 things to play with, it's much more likely that they're going to go, I'm going to try those 2 things. Oh, right, I'm actually going to do those things. Oh, those 2 things that person said, they really worked. Maybe I'll go back for more. And then they might share it with somebody. They might talk about it. So what can happen is sometimes as creators, we think, oh, well, I'll just give more. And we feel like we're being generous. But I want you to switch that around and make sure that you're being generous and that person is getting the result that they want. So you're making things as accessible as possible so they can get what they need. The final thing that I want to share is the importance of building a relationship with somebody and having that continuation. And over the last few months, I've really been working on my podcast and growing it and trying things and experimenting, but first and foremost, doing more, giving it more love. And not only has that really changed the shape of the podcast, I've really got to know people much more. The engagement has been fantastic, the conversation that I've had with people. And I think what we all need is connection. I know when I work with somebody, when I book a coach, when I book a session with somebody, whether it's headshots, whether it's a team member, whatever it might be, I want to work with somebody who understands where I'm coming from. And again, with time being a shortage, what you can do by creating this series is give information, show your personality, and really share a part of you that will allow people to get to know you. And once you put these things in place, once you create this content, people can access it as and when they need. So this isn't a case of you having to get on loads of discovery calls with people and feel like you have to be in that selling process. I knew that I never wanted to have that model in terms of coaching, because people used to say, just do a free call. And most people who just want the free call are not ready to pay for coaching. And I've seen this over the last decade since I've been coaching, that sometimes the excitement of free doesn't mean that they'll necessarily become a client. They're just excited for it to be free. And so what I was doing was I was giving all of this time away for free to a small number of people, but I wasn't getting the results that I want. And now what I do is I put my focus into content, into value, into a wider reach, and really focusing on that. And then by the time that people have listened or connected in their own time, the people that then do come forward and want a free session, they're usually at the point where they're 90% sure anyway. They just need to check, or they just need to ask a few questions, or say, double check that I am who I say I am, and make sure there's a report, or whatever that might be. And so in terms of that conversion rate, which I don't really like that phrase, but there we go, we recognize what that is. It's much, much higher since I've shifted to that model. And also, I am not expending as much energy saying to people, please, do you want to book? Do you want to do this? Because also, as well, as somebody who does have a lot of energy, what I was finding is sometimes I would want it more than the person themselves. So I'd be like, great, you could do this, and what about this? And I was 100 miles an hour because I was excited for them. I was excited for the possibility, but sometimes that person wasn't ready. So if you can create these series, if you can create this content that can be a pal to somebody, that they can get to know you with no pressure, because also we've all been on those calls where you're like, look, I need to feel this out, and I need to make the right decision for me. And I know all the techniques that people share about closing the sale, or saying the awful sleazy stuff where it's like, unless you pay your deposit now, you're not serious. Like, I'm not interested in doing any of that. I haven't had a career for as long as I have by doing unethical business. Like, that is just not my vibe at all. But equally, I do really love it when people get to a point where they're like, let's go, let's do this. That energy, it's just brilliant. So I hope you've got lots from today. As a takeaway, as an exercise, think about some themes that you talk about in your business. Think about some conversations that you're interested in having, and then consider how you can break that information down. How can you encourage people to keep coming back? How can you really give value? How can you add your perspective on this? And again, this is really important to lean into. We're not interested in 2022 in generic information. We want to know the different flavors and spices and all of those components. What makes you, you? We're ready for, I'm so glad. Thanks, Nat. We're ready for a new vibe. We're ready for new voices. We are not talking in those generic terms anymore. So if you feel hesitant about putting your whole self into something, do what that ideal version is. Like, yeah, I'm really going to go for this. And then you can pull back a little bit, but go for the ideal first and then almost renegotiate yourself and get to a point where it feels really good. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, for being part of me. If you are interested in some support with your content, as a celebration of the podcast, I am going to be doing some Ask Me Anything sessions, which are a much kind of lower rate to my coaching, because this is not coaching. This is like one of those jam and plan, let's brainstorm, let's get loads of ideas, get my fresh perspective on it. I work with so many different kinds of businesses. And again, in terms of coaching, I am that, all my coaching tutors were like, what's your niche, Nicky? Drill it down, drill it down. But if you look on my website, you will see I work with so many different types of businesses, founders, creators, storytellers, chefs, yoga instructors, oh my goodness, so many kinds of different people. And so because I'm in that energy of working with lots of different people, I'm not just looking at a generic way. I'm not one of those people who goes, right, so you're a coach, we need to follow this template. Actually, it's the opposite. It's about looking at it in a different way. And it's about a fresh perspective. So if that is of interest to you, they are £150. You get a content workshop, which is already in there. You get some pre-work from me. You get a 45-minute session, and you can come to my monthly meeting at the end of January as well and tell me like what you've done. Tell me what you've tried, what you've experimented with. And I wanted to add that final bit of accountability, because again, I know what happens sometimes with these sessions where people get these sessions in place, they get them in the diary and go, great, that's the first part done. I've done it. I've had the session. I'm always interested. What are you going to do with it next? What are your next steps? What worked? What didn't? What fell flat on its face? Where did you get the information? What data did you get from that? Likewise, I shared at the beginning of the week, on the day that my podcast turned 4, I had no internet. I had no internet, and it did not go to plan at all. I thought I'd do loads of lives and videos and all sorts of things. I didn't do any of it because the internet was down. But again, it gave me more data about the business that I want to have. And in a way, it confirmed lots of the things I already knew. All right. Thank you so much for joining, for watching, for listening. Please like and share and all that good stuff. And I'll catch you again very soon. Lots of love. Bye.